Today, I'm smoking some beef ribs on the Weber kettle using no accessories. All you need is your Weber kettle, some charcoal, and some beef ribs.
So tender.
I'll be using these prime short beef ribs I got at my local butcher. Now for the trim, I did remove some of the excess fat and some silver skin. Do your best to remove as much fat as you can and try not to cut off any of the meat. Also remove the silver skin. This way the rub and smoke can flavor the meat just a little bit better. The most important advice, take your time. Now for the seasoning, I'm using the BBQ General. This is an all-purpose seasoning made by PS Seasonings. I'll hit the untrimmed back of the ribs first. Due to the membrane and fat, the seasoning won't penetrate the meat too much, but it's important that you keep the membrane intact on beef ribs. Unlike pork ribs, which is usually a good idea to remove. Now let's season the other side. Be sure to season evenly and remember to get the sides as well. One thing I learned about the seasoning is that there isn't a whole lot of pepper. And since I love pepper on beef, I made sure to hit it with some additional pepper on all sides. Once your beef ribs are seasoned perfectly, let's start up our grill. I'm cooking these on the Weber grill, and I'm using some Jealous Devil lump charcoal. I'm creating a bit of a chain of charcoal. It doesn't have to be exact. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I'm going to light one side of the charcoal, and with time, it'll slowly ignite the rest of the charcoal. It'll do this over a long period of time. With this amount of charcoal, I shouldn't have to add any more during the cook. I'm using a Weber starter cube to start it up. Next, I'll be adding some apple wood and some hickory. These wood chunks will slowly ignite during the cook and will give some awesome smoke flavor to the ribs. I'm also adding an aluminum pan and I'm filling it with a quart of hot water. This will help regular temperature and add a little bit of moisture during the cook. Let's add in our grill grate and cover up. The reason I'm placing the gauge over where the beef ribs will be is so that I can quickly gauge my temperature while it goes up to temp. I'm putting my bottom vents to a quarter open and my top vents to a quarter open as well. I'm trying to hit it anywhere between 225 and 275. My kettle has settled around 225. I'll quickly drop in some small pieces of wood and put in our beef ribs. I'll put in the meatier side of the ribs closer to the fire. Let's cover and check back in a few hours. As you can see, I placed a vent area over the meat. This way the smoke can run across the ribs and exit through the vent. These ribs have gone undisturbed for 4.5 hours, and it's time to check up on them. The bark is forming nicely, and the charcoal is looking great. This should be plenty to get us through the rest of the cook. I normally don't spritz, but I see a few dry areas that I'm going to hit with some water. Let's cover and continue cooking. At this point, I'm going to check every 30 minutes or so until I'm happy with the bark. A quick temperature check, a quick bark check, and it still needs just a little bit longer. And I'll hit it again with some water. At this point in time, I've also dropped in our pit probe to get a more accurate reading on the temperature inside the kettle. Now, one of many reasons I love cooking in my kettle is because it locks in the temperature very nicely. Now let's cover and check back later. Okay, the ribs are looking good. The bark is set and it's time to wrap. Once they are wrapped, let's put them back on the grill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place in the temperature probe to monitor the internal temperatures. Once they reach 200 degrees or so, I'll check for tenderness. Let's cover up. It's been a total of 8.5 hours. And let's check for tenderness. I'll slide in my probe and it slides right in, just like going through butter. Let's remove these beef ribs and let them rest. Next, let's check our charcoal. There was plenty left to go for another 2 hours or so. Now there's no need to waste any of this fuel though. Let's close our vents and the remaining charcoal should be usable for us next time we want to grill. I let these ribs rest for about 90 minutes. Let's first remove the butcher paper. These look and smell great. Let's slice into them. There we have it. Perfectly tender, juicy, smoky. And now we're ready to taste.
Yeah, look at that beautiful smoke ring. Let's eat. Wow. So tender. Okay, those beef ribs are delicious. This came out fantastic. Perfect tenderness, perfect flavor. That rub, highly recommended. That bark was really good. Beef ribs are by far my favorite. I preferred it over brisket. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I hope you enjoyed this cook, and if you did, please hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and continue eating. Melt in your mouth.